Assyria, a name that echoes through the corridors of ancient history, carrying with it the whispers of power, ambition, and resilience. But where did it all begin? To uncover the story of Assyria, we must journey back nearly 5 millennia to the rugged lands of northern Mesopotamia and the city-state of Assur, a place where seeds of empire were sown amidst a backdrop of trade, innovation, and shifting alliances. By 2500 BC, Assur was no more than a small settlement nestled on the western banks of the Tigris River. Surrounded by rolling hills and fertile plains, this region boasted prime agricultural conditions, giving rise to settlements that thrived on farming and riverine trade. Yet Assur was different. From the beginning, it was defined not just by its geographical advantage, but by its capacity for growth and adaptation. Assur's founding is closely tied to the broader context of Mesopotamian history during the early dynastic period. Cities like Uruk, and Kish in southern Mesopotamia were flourishing cultural and political centers, engaging in both cooperation and conflict. While the city-states of the south vied for dominance, the north, where Assur lay, quietly emerged as a unique hub connecting trade routes that linked the resource-rich Anatolian highlands to the bustling urban centers of Sumer. The key to Assur's rise lay in its strategic position. The Tigris River acted as a vein for long-distance trade, bringing goods like timber, metals, and textiles into Assur's marketplace. Over time, this small settlement evolved into a thriving trade city. But Assur wasn't merely a waypoint for goods, it was a cradle of ambition. Politically, Assur during this early era remained relatively modest, governed by local rulers who held power in a system that resembled early Mesopotamian city-states. However, its militaristic and expansionist tendencies began to take root even in its formative years. Driven by competition for resources and influenced by the Sumerian city-states to the south, Assur began asserting itself in regional affairs. The period around 2400 BC witnessed the rise of influential leaders in Assur, who leveraged the city's wealth to consolidate political and military power. Records from this era suggest that alliances with neighboring settlements and occasional skirmishes were essential in securing control over trade routes. Assur's warriors were primarily organized into small contingents, tasked not with large-scale conquest, but with defending trade caravans and deterring raiders from tribal regions to the north and east. By 2025 BC, Assur entered what historians call its Old Assyrian Kingdom phase, a turning point in both its political and historical trajectory. This was an age characterized by greater centralization and long-term planning. The local rulers of Assur became increasingly ambitious, pursuing projects to solidify their power. Temples dedicated to Assur, the patron deity of the city, were expanded, intertwining faith with governance. The god Assur would come to represent not only divine protection, but the very essence of Assyrian identity. He was the spiritual fulcrum on which rulers legitimized their authority, uniting their people through a shared devotion. Around this time, Assur's relationship with the southern Mesopotamian cities became more intricate. The expansionist ambitions of Ur's third dynasty, under rulers like Shulgi, pushed Assur into complex political maneuvers. While Assur traded extensively with Ur, maintaining strategic links to the thriving economies of the south, it sought to remain autonomous and independent in its governance. Tribute and diplomacy replaced outright warfare, allowing Assur to secure its position without falling under the shadow of southern hegemony. And yet the region's growing instability didn't always guarantee peace. Toward the end of the Old Assyrian Kingdom era, Assur faced increasing threats from rival cities and aggressive tribal factions seeking to dominate Mesopotamian trade routes. This turbulence spurred military innovation and a sharper focus on territorial defense, traits that would later fuel Assyria's reputation as one of the most formidable militaries of the ancient world. Perhaps the most remarkable achievement of the Old Assyrian period wasn't conquest, it was trade. Assur established colonies and trading posts in Anatolia, creating networks that expanded its influence far beyond Mesopotamia. These colonies, known as Karum, were bustling centers of commerce, connecting Assur to places like Kanesh in central Turkey. Assyrian merchants exchanged textiles for silver, copper, and tin, forming partnerships that strengthened Assur's economy and broadened its horizons. This period arguably laid the groundwork for the later imperial expansion that propelled Assyria into dominance. As the Old Assyrian kingdom came to a close around 2025 BC, Assur was no longer just a city. It had become a symbol, a nucleus of cultural, political, and spiritual growth. Though its early rulers hadn't yet forged an empire, their legacy was undeniable. They laid the foundation for a state that would go on to become one of the ancient world's most enduring superpowers. The story of Assyria is one of humble beginnings and relentless ambition, of rulers who leveraged trade and diplomacy to carve out a future for their people amidst the challenges of early Mesopotamian life. It reminds us that great empires aren't born in an instant. They are built, step by step, by visionaries who dare to dream. And in Assur, that dream was unmistakable, one of expansion, innovation, and the eternal quest for greatness. The story of Assyria is one of humble beginnings and relentless ambition, of rulers who leveraged trade and diplomacy to carve out a future for their people amidst the challenges of early Mesopotamian life. It reminds us that great empires aren't born in an instant. They are built, step, by visionaries who dare to dream. And in Assur, that dream was unmistakable, one of expansion, innovation, and the eternal quest for greatness.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.